This failed union or marriage inspired him to write his divorce tracts. 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 Okay. Which was titled as Doctrine and Discipline of Divorce. Doctrine and Discipline Doctrine and Discipline of Divorce. Another one, Judgment of Martin Bucer against concerning divorce. Judgment of Martin Bucer, Bucer, concerning divorce. Concerning divorce. All right. And he married again. Now he married Catherine Woodcock. Catherine Woodcock. K. Catherine Woodcock. Catherine Woodcock. In 1656. And with her he had Elizabeth Minchin in 1662, his daughter. Okay. With Catherine Woodcock he had one daughter in 1662. And in 1652 he lost his eyesight. It was a dark year for him, quite literally, because he lost his eyesight completely, and his first wife, Mary Powell, also died. Okay, he was a Puritan poet. He was in favor of the Commonwealth. So when King Charles II was restored to the throne of England, John Milton was arrested and he was put behind the bars. In 1660, after the restoration of King Charles II, Milton was arrested as a defender and supporter of the Commonwealth. Okay. Now talking about all his works, write down. First we have in 1631 those two companion poems, L'Allegro and Second Penseroso. 1631. Both the poems were written together and published together because they were companion pieces in 1631. Next work, A Mask Presented at the Ludlow Castle. A Mask Presented at the Ludlow Castle. 1634. 1634. And this is commonly known as Comus. ये सबने सुना होता है नाम, Comus. ये पूरा नहीं सुना होगा बट ये तो सबको पता होता है, कॉमर्स. A masque presented at the Ludlow Castle 1634. Next one. Lycidas. Lycidas 1638. 1638. Lycidas 1638. And then we have a collection of his poems named as Poems of Mr. John Milton. Poems of Mr. John Milton, both English and Latin. Both English and Latin. 1645. Next one, and the most important one. I can't emphasize on this work more than this. Paradise Lost. I can't emphasize on its important enough. All right. So we have Paradise Lost in 1667. 1667. Next we have Paradise Regained. Paradise Regained. 1671. Okay. Next we have Samson, S-A-M-S-O-N, Samson. Agonists, A-G-O-N-I-S-T-E-S, Agonists. 1671. Okay. And the last one, Poems upon Several Occasions. Poems upon Several Occasions. 1673. Okay. Other political, philosophical and religious prose works by Milton. First one. These are political, philosophical and religious prose works by Milton. First one, Of Reformation or Reformation or Reformation, R-E-F-O-R-M-A-T-I-O-N, 1641. Okay, divorce ones we have already written. Next, Of Education. Of Education, 1644. Next one, Aeropagitica, A-R-E-O-P-A-G-I-T-I-C-A, Aeropagitica, 1644. Next, The Tenure of Kings and Magistrates. The Tenure of Kings and Magistrates. Tenure as in, I am dictating T-E-N-U-R-E. Tenure. The Tenure of Kings and Magistrates. 1649. 1649. Next work, A Treatise of Civil Power. A treatise of civil power. 1659. 1659. Next word, the likeliest, likeliest, L-I-K-E-L-I-E-S-T, likeliest. The likeliest means to remove violence from the church. 1659. Next one, the ready and easy way, the ready and easy way to establish a free commonwealth. To establish a free commonwealth. 1660. Next one, brief notes, brief notes upon a late sermon, S-E-R-M-O-N, brief notes upon a late sermon, 1660. Next, history of Britain, history of Britain, 1670. Next, of true religion, of true religion, 1673. All right. So all these works were important for your exam. And I'm going to discuss two of his works in detail. First one, Paradise Lost, and second, Lycidas. Okay. So let's first talk about Paradise Lost in detail. It belongs to the genre of epic poetry. Epic poem, Paradise Lost. First point. Second, it was originally published in 10 books. 10 books in 1667. Today that we read, we have 12 books. So that was in the later edition, it was added. The next two books were added in the next edition, but originally it was published only in 10 books in 1667. The second edition of the poem came out with 12 books in 1674. So it was in the second edition that 2 books were more added in 1674. And we know the story of Paradise Lost. All of us know it tells us about the story of fall of man, how God created Adam, and the placement of earth in between. Above the earth we have heaven, and below the earth we have hell. So we see there are the major characters, Satan, or the fallen angel, or the leader of fallen angel. Satan was actually the one who did not approve of the sole authority of God. So he, raised an army against the supreme authority, God, and he could not obviously win over God, and he was actually, he fell from heaven to hell. It was his punishment. So we see in the book, Satan is now trying to revenge his defeat on Adam was God's favorite creation. Adam was put into the paradise or the Garden of Eden. Okay, it was a very beautiful place where there was no death, no worries, no sins, no vice, nothing. It was full of happiness, joy, freshness, kindness. Everything positive was there. And Adam, once, if we see and if we go by the story, Adam felt lonely and he asked God to provide him with a partner, and God created Eve uh, out of his rib. Out of one of his rib, Eve was created. And as the story progresses, we see that God keeps on sending different angels. Okay, not the fallen angels, but angels who were still on the side of God. There were a lot of them. They were on the side of God, and he used to keep on sending his angels only to make Adam cautious of who may enter the paradise, and it may ruin everything for them. So and one day what happens, Adam is on work. Okay, there is this very Protestant idea in this particular work. We see you have to go out and work. You cannot sit idle and eat your fruit. You have to go out, work hard, and eat the fruit. Okay, so he's out working, and Eve, she sees there is she knows already, she's very curious, but she already knows, as told by God, that there was some forbidden tree, and the fruit on that tree was forbidden. They were forbidden to eat that, and it was the tree of knowledge. So once they had eaten fruit from the tree of knowledge, they would not be able, they were because they were forbidden to eat that fruit, they would gain all the knowledge of the world, but they would not be, it may have severe consequences. They might not be immortal, or their life be full of worries and vices. Okay, so all kind of troubles would befell on them, and that actually happened. So we see that Eve, one day she was there around the tree of knowledge, the forbidden tree, and Satan, who comes in the form of a serpent, सांप की शेप में आता है, in the form of a serpent, and his speech of Satan is very, very important. I can't emphasize more on the importance of his speech, because his speech is full of rhetoric. Okay, he actually convinces Eve to eat from the forbidden tree, that she might get knowledge of the whole world and everything. He actually persuades her to eat from that tree, and Eve tastes the fruit of knowledge, and she gains knowledge. As soon as she eats from the tree, her world changes upside down. Okay, now what happens? Adam, she rushes to Adam and tells him about the story, what has happened with her. And serpent, obviously the work had been done, so he leaves from the paradise. And Eve then rushes to Adam and tells him the story. And Adam, because it was, there's also a question of free will. Adam had this free will. He could have avoided eating the fruit. Eve had already eaten it. He had this choice, but he chose to be with Eve. He loved her so much because Eve was the only companion in human form that he had. So he ate from the forbidden tree, and he ate the forbidden fruit out of his own wish. Eve was persuaded, and Adam ate it out of his own wish because of his love for Eve. He could not, think of being alone without her. So he ate that fruit, and both of them had to bear dire consequences. They had to go away from, they had to leave paradise. They had to go away from. Now they were not anymore the favorite creation of God. So this was the basic story, and they are not going to ask you the basic story. I'm sorry. You will have to go into detail about everything. बुक 1 क्या है, बुक 1 में, बुक 2 में क्या है, बुक 3 में क्या है. ये तो बेसिक समरी हो गई. उसके बाद भी आप देखते हो कि which angel came to Adam to make him cautious of the serpent or the Satan or any of the fallen angel. तो कौन था वो, कौन नहीं आया था, गॉड ने क्या बोला. The first thing which God saw when they had eaten from the Adam and Eve had eaten from the forbidden tree. So what was their reaction? First reaction, it was that they were ashamed of their nudity. So these kind of questions, who was guarding the door of hell? And all these questions they might ask you in the question paper. Also, coming to Milton, I want to make you people clear that you might get some chronological based questions from Milton. कभी कभी कैसा क्वेश्चन आएगा कि उसके कुछ वर्क्स दे दिए जाएंगे और उसको उसके पब्लिशिंग ईयर्स के अकॉर्डिंग आपको प्लेस करने होंगे. ओके, इस टाइप का क्वेश्चन आता है. या फिर वन क्वेश्चन दैट आई हैव सीन was all the works were placed on one side. It was a match the following kind of a question. और दूसरी साइड में जो basic heroes है, the protagonist of the works, वो दूसरी साइड में है. So you have to match the correct heroes with the works. So these kind of questions, chronological based questions. So you have to remember the publishing year of his works. You cannot do away with that. And Paradise Lost, you have to do it in detail. Completely in detail. You will have to read the summary. Okay, read the summary online, and comprehension parts I'm going to make it right. Okay, I'm going to make you people write that. Don't worry about that. That will do once we are over with the syllabus. We are going to come to the important passages or the comprehension based questions. Okay, but you have to know the details of this work. Okay. Okay, this is also the subject of this poem is man's disobedience. Okay, and the overall theme of this epic poem was justifying the ways of God to men. Write this down. The main subject of the poem is man's disobedience. Man's disobedience. And the theme of this epic poem was justifying, in double inverted commas because these are Milton's own words, justifying the ways of God to men. Justifying the ways of God to men. All right. I'm going to give you more detail of this work in the next class. But first I want you to read the summary. Only then I'll be able to talk about it in detail. So you have to first read it on your own. Okay. So another work which I was telling was Lycidas, Lycidas. It was a pastoral elegy or elegy. Pastoral elegy published in 1638. Okay. And it is also sometimes called a monody. M-O-N-O-D-Y. Monody. Which means a lyrical lament for one voice. A lyrical lament, L-A-M-E-N-T, for one voice. And it was dedicated to the memory of Edward King, his friend at the Cambridge. Dedicated to the memory of Edward King. And he had died by drowning. Okay, the name Lycidas comes from Idyls of Theocritus. Idyls of Theocritus. Idyls, I-D-Y-L-L-S. The name Lycidas comes from T-U-S. Idyls of Theocritus, where Lycidas was a poet and a goat herd. Lycidas was a poet and a goat herd. and it can be divided into three parts: prologue, main part, and an epilogue, or rather 6 sections: 1 prologue, 4 main parts, and 1 epilogue. Okay, prologue, 4 main parts, and 1 epilogue. So we have 4 main parts here. If you go precisely, 1 prologue, 4 main parts, and an epilogue. And this poem also begins like the Paradise Lost. Milton invokes the muse to help him write the poem. He invokes the muse to help him write the poem. And the speaker is Milton himself. Who is also a shepherd who mourns, M-O-U-R-N-S, mourns, who mourns or laments the loss of his friend with whom he had shared sheep tending, or the duties of tending sheep. Okay, because it is the pastoral genre. Duties of tending sheep. Okay, and the ending of the poem is where Lycidas rises from the dead. He rises from the dead, enters heaven, and is now entertained by saints. He enters heaven and is entertained by saints. The complete poem has 193 lines. Okay, and Edward King, his friend, is a symbolic pastoral character. Who is seen as the lost shepherd Lycidas. Alright, so this was all about Milton. We are going to come back to Paradise Lost and discuss about it once you have read it. Okay, and we also have a few other prose writers of the Puritan age: Robert Burton, Thomas Hobbes, Isaac Walton, Sir Thomas Browne, Thomas Fuller, Jeremy Taylor, Richard Baxter. So these 5-6 prose writers are left, which we will do in the next class. Until then, you have to focus on Milton. Remember all the works written by him along with the publishing year and in detail summary of Paradise Lost. So this is going to be your homework. Follow the lecture closely and do what is necessary. Do what you have to do. Okay, don't lose track of the syllabus because you guys are sitting at home and it is the outbreak of corona is there, so you are not able to focus on work. Be positive in this difficult time. Keep people around you happy and positive. Stay focused on your work. Don't lose your focus in this time. Okay, so I know you people might have a lot more work sitting at home doing different things, but please find time or make time for yourself. Invest in your studies. This is very important. Okay, all right, I'll see you in the next class then. Okay, bye.